After my father's childhood sweetheart became a widow, he brought her back to the estate. That night he had a long heart-to-heart talk with my mother. Xunyang has had it rough all these years. Please take good care of her. My mother smiled and settled her in. All of the capital praised my mother for being virtuous and magnanimous, and my father was deeply gratified. Unfortunately, they were all wrong. Only I knew that my mother wanted both the reputation of virtue and my father's life. When my father brought back that helpless and alone childhood sweetheart of his to the estate, it was a splendid spring afternoon. He held the woman's hand as she stepped down from the carriage, his tone gentler and more careful than I'd ever heard. Xunyang, from now on this is your home. Don't hold back. That woman named Liu Mengshu wore a plain moon-white dress and skirt, her eyes downcast, utterly pitiful. I stood beside my mother, subconsciously clutching her sleeve tightly. Father's behavior with this childhood sweetheart was really too intimate. I stole a glance at my mother. There was no displeasure on her face. Instead, with a proper and gentle smile, she stepped forward on her own initiative and softly grasped Lady Liu's hand. Sister, you must be tired from the journey. Me husband has mentioned you to me long ago, saying how hard it has been for you alone. It is good that you've come. From now on, settle in with peace of mind. I'll handle everything. My mother's words were tender, her gestures affectionate, even her eyes rippled with sincere light. Lady Liu seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, a blush flying across her face as she said in a soft voice, "Thank you, sister-in-law. Sure is troubling you. We're family. What trouble are you talking about?" Mother smiled, then turned to instruct the butler. "Clean out that brightest guest room in the west wing, the one closest to the main courtyard, for the young miss to stay in. All her provisions should follow the same standards as our household's young ladies, no neglect allowed." Upon hearing this, Father looked at Mother with eyes full of gratitude and relief. He probably thought his wife was so virtuous and understanding, knowing what is proper. Deep in the night, all was quiet. Because I had eaten an extra half bowl of fermented rice wine during the day, my stomach felt uncomfortable and I couldn't fall asleep for a long time. So I got up to take a walk and aid digestion. When passing by the guest room Mother had arranged for Lady Liu, I saw two silhouettes reflected on the window paper. Suspicious, I lightened my footsteps and moved closer to the window. Then I heard whispers I would never forget for the rest of my life. "She is letting me stay under the name of a young miss from the extended family. Has she noticed something? Will she? Don't worry, Sure. I've already warned Meng Ruyi. She absolutely wouldn't dare slight you in the slightest. But when will you marry me? Wasn't our separation 10 years ago painful enough? I don't want to miss out on being with you again. Don't be afraid, Sure. No one can tear us apart anymore. Just wait a little longer, it'll be soon." That voice was indeed the deep, gentle tone of Father's that I'd been accustomed to hearing since childhood. But hearing it now, it was ice-cold and piercing. Without a trace of warmth on the window paper, two silhouettes gradually nestled together. I stood frozen outside the window, the early spring night wind sweeping across my neck, sending a shiver through my entire body. Suddenly, a rough hand from behind abruptly covered my mouth. Mama Shi, who was by Mother's side, pressed close to my ear, her breath urgent. "Miss, you must not make a sound." My heart pounded wildly in my chest. In that instant, I suddenly came to my senses. Mother, I'm afraid, had known all of this all along. Grandmother was frail, with only my mother as her daughter. My grandparents worried that there would be no one to support her in the future. So they figured that marrying down would actually make it easier to keep control. My father was chosen this way. That year at the autumn examination, Grandfather served as educational commissioner of Huainan East and went to Qingzhou to supervise the exams. He took a liking to my father at first sight, talented in writing. Clean family background, and immediately had the intention to marry his daughter to him. And my father, he concealed one crucial matter. Back home, there was a childhood sweetheart he was about to be engaged to. He readily promised Grandfather that once he passed the Jinshi examination, he would come to marry when the spring examination results were announced. My father passed with Jinshi status, but there were several hundred Jinshi graduates, and if he waited for a court appointment, he'd likely be sent to some remote backwater to build up experience. It was only thanks to grandfather's behind-the-scenes arrangements that he was assigned to Guan County under Qingzhou's jurisdiction and became a county magistrate. Returning home in glory, the first thing he did was to hastily marry off that childhood sweetheart, cutting ties clean and clear. 3 years after marrying my mother, they had me. My mother injured her body during the difficult birth and could no longer conceive. When bringing up this matter, my father would always put on a deeply affectionate look. Ruyi's health is what matters most. Having our Yuan alone is perfect fulfillment. Everyone envied her, saying my mother had married an ideal husband with this reputation of being a loving husband, plus my maternal grandfather's support. In just a few years, my father was promoted to magistrate of Qingzhou. Later, by chance, when my mother went out to worship Buddha, she happened to rescue a noble lady. Who would have thought? The lady turned out to be the wife of the Minister of Rights. And the minister himself was actually my grandfather's student. With support from multiple sides, my father smoothly transferred to the capital and became an official under the emperor's feet. After arriving in the capital, father treated me extremely well, personally overseeing my studies, and was even more attentive and considerate toward my mother. Gradually, word spread in the capital's circle of noble ladies. Some sincerely pulled my mother aside and said, "Lady Yang, what good fortune you have. Not only are there no concubines in your household, there isn't even a bed-warming maid. You've got your husband's heart tied down so tight." Others waved their round fans with sourness in their words. Isn't that so? A man of Magistrate Yang's stature turns out to be such a hopeless romantic. But this was only 3 short years. My father was already secretly carrying on an affair with someone else. I tugged at my mother's sleeve, utterly confused. "Mother, how did father become like this?" She gently stroked my hair. Yuan, the human heart, is the most fickle thing. I couldn't help but sigh. Then, is mother really going to let that Lady Liu enter our household? Mother merely smiled faintly and tucked in the corners of my blanket. "I'm Ruyi. Not someone to be pushed around. Don't worry, your mother has her own plans. Go to sleep now." The next morning, Lady Liu came early to mother's courtyard to pay her respects. She didn't come alone, she was also carrying a food box and said timidly to my father, "Mengshu was thinking about how you work so hard with official duties every day, so she specially got up early to simmer a bowl of rock sugar and snow pear. It is best for nourishing the lungs. I just don't know if it fits the rules of sister-in-law's household." These words sounded humble, but in reality every word was showing off her thoughtfulness, while implying that the household management rules mother presided over were strict and unfeeling. I felt stifled inside, but mother only smiled gently. "Sister is so thoughtful, husband. You should try it." Mother pushed the bowl of clearly more precious blood nest she had brought in front of Lady Liu, her tone sincere without the slightest resentment. "Actually, I stewed bird's nest today to nourish my husband's body. It was my oversight. I didn't consider that sister's health is even weaker. If sister doesn't mind, please have this bird's nest." Seeing this, father looked at Luwana with even more affection. When looking at mother, his eyes were full of admiration for a virtuous wife. Lady Liu ate that bowl of bird's nest soup without tasting it at all. A few days later, the manager from the silk shop came to the manor to deliver new fabrics. Mother was holding up a fashionable smoke-colored gauze, comparing it, when Lady Liu gracefully walked over. Her gaze swept over that bolt of gauze, and she sighed softly to my father. "This color really suits sister-in-law, like clouds and sunset in the sky. Unlike Mengshu, who can only wear plain colors lest people gossip." My father immediately waved his hand grandly and said to the manager, "Give this bolt of gauze to the young cousin lady then." The servants were all stunned who didn't know that things madam had taken a liking to were never given to others. I clenched my fists, but saw mother only pause slightly, then calmly handed the gauze to Lady Liu, saying gently, "Your sister is young. You should wear brighter colors. It is my oversight. I was only thinking about what I liked. Take it quickly, and in a couple days I'll have the embroidery room make you a new outfit." Her words were full of self-reproach and care, which made Lady Lu's earlier pettiness all the more apparent. My father nodded with satisfaction, while Lady Lu held that bolt of gauze, the smile on her face somewhat stiff. Everyone in the manor knew that my father habitually handled official business in his study until late at night. That evening, Lady Lu carried ginseng tea and entered the study directly without being announced, and didn't come out for a long while. I was extremely anxious and pulled Mother along to bring a midnight snack, fearing Lady Lu would take the chance to secure her favor. But Mother sat steadily by the window, embroidering a handkerchief, not even lifting her head. "Your father is handling important matters. Don't go disturb him. Lady Lu is thoughtful and meticulous, with her taking care of things. I'm very much at ease." Not only did she not go, but she even instructed the servants. "Go tell the master that I'm not feeling well and have retired early." The next day, when my father came out of the study and saw Mother directing the servants to trim the flower branches, a trace of guilt actually flashed in his eyes, and he took the initiative to say, "Madam, you've worked hard. Last night I had urgent business to handle. Fortunately, Mengshu kept grinding ink for me the whole time. She also stayed up the entire night." Mother interrupted him, gently wiping away non-existent dust with her handkerchief, her eyes smiling. "What are you saying, husband? That Sister Mengshu can share your burdens. I'm grateful beyond words. How could it be called hard work?" She smiled so openly and magnanimously that it made Father's little secret thoughts seem rather unseemly in comparison. Lady Lu stayed up all night. But not only did she fail to win Father's affection, his guilt over Mother's trust and generosity instead made him stay in Mother's room for several days in a row. Lady Lu indeed couldn't hold back any longer and made her move. When Mother and I arrived, we came upon the scene of Lady Lu leaning softly and weakly in Father's arms, sobbing quietly, her shoulders trembling slightly. As soon as she saw us come in, she dropped to her knees with a thud, sobbing bitterly. "If sister-in-law cannot tolerate me, just say so directly. Even driving me out of the residence would be better than humiliating me like this." Before Mother could speak, Father's face had already darkened, his tone carrying accusation. "Rui Mengshu says the servants in the residence deliberately neglected and insulted her. Do you know about this?" Mother sighed softly, her tone still calm. "Husband, before Qing Mei entered the residence, you instructed me to take good care of her. Since her arrival, all her provisions have been the same as Yuanyuan's. How have I ever shortchanged her in the slightest?" Lady Lu cried even more miserably. "It must be those wicked slaves going behind your back, bullying me because I'm alone and helpless. They cursed me for being shameless, said I'm putting on airs as a young miss here." I watched her sobbing with cold eyes, knowing why she found it hard to say more. What those servants cursed at her was far worse than this. After Lady Lu entered the residence, Mother did indeed assign quite a few servants to attend to her. These people usually served in my mother's courtyard, receiving generous rewards and spending lavishly. But Lady Lu, as someone seeking refuge with relatives, where could she possibly come up with even half a coin in rewards? Mother even deliberately used the excuse that the young Miss's arrival has greatly increased expenses, and the accounts can't keep up to drag out the servants' monthly wages for more than half a month. Seeing that Lu had neither money for bribes nor proper status, the servants gradually began wagging their tongues. "Papchui, does she really think she is the mistress? Just a fallen household. What airs is she putting on? A widow without even a proper title. And she thinks she can live comfortably in the manor enjoying blessings." Mother immediately summoned all the servants in the courtyard and had Lu identify them. Lu wiped her tears and shakily pointed out those who had cursed the most viciously. Those identified immediately fell to their knees, crying out their innocence. I knew Mother had her own backup plans, but at this moment, I also wanted to add fuel to this performance. I gently tugged at my father's sleeve, lifted my face, my voice soft and sweet. "But father, Yuan usually sees that Sister Chushuang is always kind to people. How could she deliberately make things difficult for Auntie Lu?" My father looked down at me, his expression softening slightly. "Yuan truly thinks so." I nodded vigorously, widening those eyes that most resembled his clear and innocent. Sure enough, a trace of doubt rose in my father's eyes. Just then, a stewardess suddenly fell to her knees. "My lord, madam, forgive me. It was this servant. It was this servant who offended the young miss the other day." Mother's brows moved slightly. "What did you do? Speak truthfully." The old woman prostrated herself, her voice trembling. "Since Miss Cousin entered the household, Madam has instructed that everything be arranged according to Mrs. standards, and we servants wouldn't dare be negligent. But that day, Miss Cousin insisted that this servant use cloud brocade to tailor clothes for her." She looked up at my father's expression before continuing. "This servant refused at the time, saying that in the household, even Madam and Miss only use shoe brocade on ordinary days. That cloud brocade has always been a fabric that only princesses and titled noble ladies are permitted to use." This was naturally Mother's arrangement. Someone had deliberately revealed in front of Lady Lu that both Mother and I were using cloud brocade. Upon hearing this, Mother let out a soft sigh. "Ah, it is all my fault for being negligent." She turned toward Lady Lu, her tone gentle yet every word clear. "The spring banquet is approaching, and I had originally promised to take Sister Lu along. Sister must have wanted to tailor a proper outfit to make a good showing at the banquet. It is my lack of consideration that forced Sister, a young lady, to have to plan for this herself." The spring banquet was nominally for flower viewing, but in reality it was the capital's most respectable matchmaking venue. Everyone knew this. My father's expression darkened abruptly. Lady Lu immediately panicked and cried out shrilly, "Sister-in-law, don't speak nonsense. I never thought about getting married." Mother turned toward my father, her tone gentle yet earnest. "Lin Jo, all these years I haven't been able to give you another child, and I've always felt guilty about it. Ever since we came to the capital, I've been thinking about finding you a good concubine." Her gaze lightly swept past Lady Lu as she continued. "After Sister Lu came, I originally planned to let her first enter the household as a noble concubine, and after a couple of years when she bears children, elevate her to equal wife. This way it would fulfill my sister's wishes and wouldn't harm your official reputation either." She sighed softly, revealing a perfectly measured sense of loss. "But Sister Lu said at the time that she would never be a concubine in this life. I had no choice but to give up on this idea, but never thought that I would neglect her because of this." Upon hearing this, Father's expression instantly softened, and even a hint of emotion flashed in his eyes. "Ru Yi, you were actually willing to let Mengshu be an equal wife?" Mother nodded slightly, her words earnest. "As long as it makes my husband happy, and can spread branches and leaves for the Yang family, what would I be unwilling to do? It is just a pity Sister Lu was unwilling." Lady Lu immediately panicked and hastily grabbed Father's sleeve. "It is not like that. Listen to my explanation." Her eyes brimmed with tears. That pitiful appearance would soften anyone's heart. I knew Father was about to waver again. I absolutely cannot give her this opportunity. I stepped forward first, gently supporting Lady Lu's arm, my voice clear and bright. "Auntie Lu, please don't be sad anymore. We all know you didn't mean to lie." I turned toward Father, blinking my innocent eyes. "Doesn't Father always tell me that when a woman marries, she must look carefully and choose someone of upright character? Look, your own character is so good, and you treat Mother so considerately." I smiled at Lady Lumi, tone affectionate yet brooking no argument. "So what is wrong with Auntie Lu wanting to take advantage of the spring banquet to find a good match? It is just that cloud brocade, our household really can't afford it. How about I give Auntie my shoe brocade to make clothes instead?" Lady Liu opened her mouth but couldn't utter a single word. Under my innocent and naive smile, she could only awkwardly stand up, her expression extremely stiff. Father ultimately sided with Lady Liu, just as he was about to speak and gloss over this farce. A clear, sweet, and melodious female voice came from outside the moon gate at just the right moment. "Madam, this humble woman has been waiting in the front courtyard for a long time." Hearing the commotion in the back courtyard, I was worried, so I ventured to come here uninvited. "Please forgive my offense." Father turned his head at the sound and was instantly frozen in place. Under the corridor stood an incomparably beautiful woman, her figure graceful and willowy, her eyes full of allure. His throat moved slightly, his tone unconsciously softening. "Madam, this lady is—" Lady Lu's face turned deathly pale in an instant, her posture, originally leaning against father's side, became rigid, her nails digging deep into her palms. This sudden turn of events completely disrupted her scheme of advancing by retreating. Mother replied calmly, yet her mind was crystal clear. This was the moment she'd been waiting for. This move hadn't been played in vain after all. "Husband, previously, when Sister Lu was unwilling to enter our household, I've still been constantly thinking about the important matter of your heir. This is the respectable young woman I've found for you. I had planned to let you meet her today, to see if she is to your liking, but didn't expect it to be delayed by that earlier misunderstanding." That woman moved with graceful steps, approaching my father and curtsying elegantly, "Greetings, master." When she raised her eyes, they rippled like water, inadvertently emanating 10,000 shades of allure. Watching how my father's soul was instantly hooked away, Madame Liu nearly bit her lip until it bled. She had schemed so painstakingly, yet not only did she fail to turn my father's heart away from mother, now there was an even younger and more beautiful rival for his favor. My father forcefully suppressed the stirring in his heart, his voice 3 degrees hoarser. My wife is so profoundly righteous. Everything shall be as my wife decides." Mother smiled faintly, her gaze sweeping across Madame Liu's ashen face, a trace of cold mockery flashing in her heart. She knew well that the best way to deal with those harboring delusions was to let them witness with their own eyes as their hopes turned into despair. She spoke in gentle tones, yet every word was clear. "This girl is from a respectable background. Her father was even a scholar. Sadly, her hometown suffered famine, both parents died, and she came to the capital alone to seek relatives, only to be deceived by those unscrupulous kin. I see she is educated and reasonable, with both good character and looks couldn't be more suitable." She looked at her father, her tone gentle yet leaving no room for doubt. "Since my husband has no objections, why not bring her into the household today? It would also put my mind at ease. A gentle township has always been a hero's tomb. Once my father dove in headfirst, he spent an entire month lodging in the new concubine's courtyard, until one evening an unsigned note was quietly slipped into his study. The paper had just one line written on it: "Miss Liu has been in difficult straits lately. It seems the mistress cannot tolerate her anymore." My father clutched the note, his brows furrowing tightly at once. Only then did he recall Miss Liu's pitiful face. Some matters, if he didn't handle them, truly no one would. Liu's note was one that Mother had allowed her to send in. Mother had managed the household for many years and was well versed in the art of controlling subordinates. Though not close to the servants, she still gave them respect. After all, the household's daily needs and expenses all passed through their hands. Years of wielding both kindness and authority kept the household orderly throughout, but Miss Liu was different. Relying on father's slight favoritism, she grew arrogant, often speaking down to the servants. Aside from when Mother would intervene to stop her excessive harshness, she let all other provocations slide. As time went on, Miss Liu truly believed Mother could do nothing about her, and her behavior became increasingly outrageous. Until this time, when the new concubine seized favor, Mother finally gave a casual order. "A new concubine has entered the household. Expenses have suddenly increased. Miss Biao's allowance is to be reduced by 1/3. One sentence was enough. Every servant understood perfectly. So the shoe brocade I promised to give her ended up in the new concubine's room in the blink of an eye. The exquisite ornaments in her room were also moved out one by one and sent to the new concubine's room. The food sent to her was deliberately delayed by the servants who had been humiliated, and the dishes were completely cold. The tea brewed was also the lowest quality scraps, the kind you'd be embarrassed to serve even to guests. When my father went to see her, what he saw was her coming out of the privy, looking dishevelled. Lady Liu knew she was improperly dressed, but having finally waited for my father to come, she couldn't care about that anymore and rushed forward to tearfully complain. She sobbed and wiped her tears. "That Meng Ru took all the good things from my room and gave them to concubine Chen. Those servants are always quick to read the winds by doing this. Isn't she clearly letting those servants trample on me as they please? My father's monthly salary was only 20 taels of silver, and more than half had to be used to curry favour with superiors and maintain relations with colleagues. He had always been frugal. The household expenses were already tight, and getting those nice things for Lady Liu in the first place had already pained him. Now with a new concubine, mother doing this borrowing flowers to present to Buddha didn't seem improper in his eyes. But seeing Lady Liu's tearful appearance, my father's heart ached. If she had followed him back then, how could she have been wronged like this over such trifles? He sighed, his voice softening. All right, stop crying. I'll go find Rui and get them back for you. Lady Liu's heart leaped with joy, and she naturally tried to nestle into his arms. But my father was so repulsed by that sour, stale smell that he stepped back half a pace, suddenly recalling the fragrant softness of the new concubine, and inexplicably felt a surge of impatience. In your letter you said the main wife couldn't tolerate you. Is this what you meant? Seeing my father step back, Lady Liu first froze, her heart turning bitter. These filthy matters indeed, not a single one was presentable, but she immediately came to her senses. So what if it is unseemly? If she lost even her lord's affection, she would truly have nothing left. Her body went limp as she leaned against the doorframe, saying faintly, "This concubine fears she ate something unclean. I've had diarrhea for 2 days now. For you to see me in such a wretched state today is truly... If this continues, this concubine's life will likely slip away without anyone noticing." My father still harbored old feelings after all. Hearing her words, his heart tightened. He offered a few words of comfort before hurrying off to the main courtyard. When he stepped through the courtyard gate, mother was just seeing the doctor out. "Rui, what is wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" he asked urgently. Mother's expression was calm as she explained softly. "I heard that little sister Mungshu has had diarrhea for 2 days. I suppose she was too embarrassed to tell me. I was worried, so I specially invited a doctor and was just about to go have him examine her." My father suddenly understood. So his childhood sweetheart cared for him to this extent, willing to use her own body to compete for favor. Then quickly have the doctor go see her. His tone immediately softened. My father then showed a troubled expression and said, "I noticed that many items in Aunt Chen's room were originally being used by Mungshu. She lived frugally before, and now that she can finally have some comfort, having her things taken away, she must feel wronged. How about we get her some new things?" Upon hearing this, mother frowned slightly, her tone gentle yet tinged with helplessness. "Husband, you know well that you're an upright official, the various connections in the capital, the support for second brother's family. Which of these doesn't require silver? We really haven't saved much over the years. When Mungshu first came, I already used my savings from the bottom of my chest to settle her in. Now that Aunt Chen has entered the household, we can't let her think our family is poor. So I moved some items over to make things look presentable." My father pondered for a moment and found it reasonable. Liu Shi panicked over such a trivial matter and rushed to complain to my father. Then mother would help her achieve her wish. Now that my father still had feelings for Liu Shi, he would naturally stand up for her. But if it is always these trivial matters that can't be brought to the table, after too many times Anyun would get annoyed. What is more, there is now the gentle and understanding concubine Chen in the household, who never makes a fuss and just quietly waits for him. After a long time, which way the scales will tip is self-evident, since Lady Liu herself couldn't hold her composure first. Then it'll be much easier for mother to deal with her. To make something perish, first let it expand. My father still wanted to say something more, but mother smilingly interrupted him, dropping a bombshell. "There is one more thing. Some days ago I received a letter from home saying that the old madam's health isn't too well. I was worried, so I took it upon myself to send people to bring her to the capital to recuperate. By now she is probably almost at the city gates." Her tone was gentle, yet every word was clear. "I originally wanted to wait until the old madam arrived to give you a surprise, husband, but since we're now talking about expenses, I'll mention it ahead of time. Once the old madam comes, food, clothing, daily necessities, medical consultations and medicine, it'll all be a huge expense. She raised her eyes to look at my father, her gaze earnest. The household really can't squeeze out any more money to favor younger sister Mungshu. Her food, clothing and daily allowances will still be according to a young lady's portion. But those decorative trinkets, I'm afraid she'll have to make do without for a while. My father was first stunned, then overjoyed beyond expectation. Ruyi, you're actually willing to have mother come live here? After that incident, I always thought you held a grudge against her in your heart. Mother lowered her eyelids and smiled faintly. Those old matters, why bring them up again? The old lady is my husband's birth mother. How could I not respect her? These years of being unable to fulfill my filial duties are already shameful enough. During the evening meal, I angrily poked at the grains of rice in my bowl. Mother, I heard that grandmother is coming, and you're the one who took the initiative to invite her. She has never liked us. Why make yourself miserable? Mother picked up a piece of shrimp and placed it on my plate. Her tone calm. It was indeed me who invited her. Why would you do that? I put down my chopsticks, my voice rising. Have you forgotten how she treated us before? For as long as I can remember, I've known that grandmother doesn't like our family. Grandmother has 2 sons under her knee, my father and my second uncle. Grandfather died early, just a poor scholar. Before his death, his only wish was for his 2 sons to study and enter officialdom, to bring glory to the family. So grandmother gritted her teeth and single-handedly shouldered the entire household. She worked herself to the bone to support both sons through private school, toiling day and night. Fortunately, my father lived up to expectations, passing from the county examination all the way to the provincial examination with outstanding results. But second uncle really wasn't cut out for studying and repeatedly failed the exams. The family was truly struggling, so grandmother could only steel her heart and cut off second uncle's path to the imperial examinations. At first, when father passed the exams and married mother, grandmother was happy, but ever since mother gave birth to me and could no longer conceive, grandmother's attitude gradually changed. She started urging my father to take a concubine. When she saw that my father was afraid of my maternal grandfather and wouldn't agree, she got mad at my father too and devoted all her attention to second uncle's family. Later on, second uncle complained every few days, saying that if grandmother hadn't been biased back then and had let him continue his studies, he would be the one who is an official now. Plus, second aunt gave birth to 2 sons in a row, so grandmother's heart became even more biased. She would always hide the candied fruit I loved and stuff it all to my 2 younger cousins. When my cousins got scolded at school, she'd punish me by making me kneel in the ancestral hall, saying I didn't fulfill my duty as an older sister. The most unforgettable time was when my 2 cousins tricked me into going to an abandoned house to catch ghosts. But I dressed up as a ghost and scared them so badly they ran away crying. I deliberately hid until dark, listening to the whole family frantically searching for me. In the end, it was Nanny Shi who told me that mother got so angry she scolded my cousins on the spot, and even blocked grandmother when she came forward to take their side. Though later, after mother learned the truth, she praised me for being clever. She said with reddened eyes, "Don't do this again next time." Mother nearly went crazy with worry. Mother remembers it all. Mother gently tapped my forehead, but her eyes gleamed with cunning light. Bringing her here is naturally not to let her lord it over us. She leaned close to my ear, her warm breath brushing past. "Yuan, do you want to go on a spring outing? The peach blossoms are blooming beautifully right now." My eyes lit up instantly. Really, but what about grandmother coming? Just let her rest and recuperate in peace. Mother smiled faintly. After all, there is still a dear niece of hers in this household who can attend to her, isn't there? I suddenly understood what she meant and threw myself into her arms. "Mother, you're the best. Good girl." Mother stroked my hair, her voice gentle yet firm. "If someone wants to enjoy the blessings of having multiple women, they'd better see if they have the fortune to bear it." In less than 2 days, mother proposed to father that she go to the West Garden Temple to pray for blessings. Now that the Empress Dowager's health is poor, Many officials' wives in the capital are going to temples to pray for her. I should make a trip as well. Mother's tone was gentle, yet every word made perfect sense. His Majesty governs the realm with filial piety and values the Empress Dowager's health above all. If we go to show our devotion, it will spare you from criticism in your official career, husband. Upon hearing this, father's eyes were full of approval. My wife is indeed thoughtful. Yes, you should go. You absolutely should. When the current emperor was young, there was a period of unrest in the inner palace. The imperial consort at that time was powerful, and repeatedly plotted against the still young emperor and the Empress Dowager. Though the Empress Dowager was the mistress of the 6 palaces, she couldn't guard against everything, and her health suffered lasting damage, with her condition fluctuating between good and bad. After the emperor ascended the throne, his first act was to summon renowned physicians from across the land to care for the Empress Dowager, and he especially detested those who favored concubines while mistreating their wives. The virtuous reputation Mother had cultivated in the capital over the years had long become a golden calling card for father in his official career. For someone like him who values his official reputation more than his life, this assistance is naturally invaluable. Mother continued, this trip of mine will take at least a month. If I'm going to pray for blessings, I must devoutly observe a vegetarian diet and chant sutras to show sincerity. If the Empress Dowager's health doesn't improve quickly, it is only reasonable to stay even longer. She paused, her gaze falling gently on me. I want to take Yuan with me. In less than 2 years she'll be coming of age, so she should get out more and see the world, leave a good impression on the various ladies, and build up a good reputation. My father nodded repeatedly, his eyes full of relief. Good, good, good. You should both go. With Yuan following you, I'm most at ease. As if suddenly thinking of something, his expression turned troubled again. Ruyi, with you gone for at least a month or more, Mother is due to arrive soon, and there'll be no one in charge of the household. This Mother's expression remained composed as she interrupted his worries with a light smile. Husband needn't worry. All household matters are already running smoothly, and the servants are all competent. Besides, her tone paused slightly, hinting at something. Isn't younger sister Mengshu also in the residence? She and old madam probably haven't seen each other for decades. Right? I've heard that before she was married, old madam was especially fond of her. Upon hearing this, my father hastily explained. That is not true at all. Mother simply pitied her for losing her mother at a young age and showed her a bit more care. That is all. Although little sister Mengshu is unwilling to marry into the family, I've always felt in my heart that after all, someone from a family we know inside and out would be more reassuring. Now that the old madam has come, it is the perfect opportunity to let the mother and daughter have a good talk. Perhaps with the old madam's persuasion, little sister might change her mind. Upon hearing this, father's face was full of emotion. Ryito have a wife like you. What more could a husband ask for? Yet in his heart, a certain corner quietly sank. Yes, even a young and beautiful girl like concubine Chen, with an impeccable family background, was willing to become his concubine. But his childhood sweetheart, who kept professing her deep and abiding love, wouldn't even agree to a temporary compromise. This realization was like a tiny thorn. Inadvertently, it had already pierced into the softest place in his heart. During the days of praying for blessings at West Garden Temple, Mother would take me down the mountain every 5 days for 2 days. Nominally for shopping, but in reality to inspect the businesses she secretly operated. She had discovered a hidden business opportunity early on, no matter how meticulously the noble ladies of the capital dressed themselves up. They inevitably had some unpleasant breath when speaking. Those gentlemen naturally didn't mind, but among the ladies themselves, they were extremely sensitive about this. Mother immediately ordered people to develop a special tooth powder, based on salt, pagoda tree twigs, and Chinese honey locust, dried and ground into fine powder, to be applied when cleaning teeth. She wasn't satisfied with just this. Later, she studied ancient recipes and added mint, borneol, and other ingredients to create an upgraded tooth powder that was refreshing and fragrant. She even customized soft boar bristle brushes for noble guests, and even added precious agarwood, specially for ladies of high-ranking families. As for ordinary households, she also prepared affordable willow woodcomb toothbrushes at fair prices. Now, this business has opened several branch shops, and the teeth cleaning trend quietly rising in the capital. The force behind it all is none other than my low-profile mother. Naturally, my father knows nothing about this, and mother would never use the silver she worked so hard to earn to fill the bottomless pit of the household's public accounts. These days, the manor has truly been one drama after another. Concubine Chen certainly didn't disappoint. She and Madame Liu have been fighting openly and covertly without end. Grandmother naturally favored Madame Liu at first, and often joined in bullying Concubine Chen. But how could Concubine Chen be a pushover? She directly pulled a move that struck at the root of the problem. That day, when father was present, she deliberately spoke in a meek manner, yet every sentence carried a barb. Sure enough, she provoked Madame Liu until she couldn't hold back and reached out to shove her. Concubine Chen went along with the momentum and fell backward, landing good and hard. This fall directly revealed a joyful pulse. My father had originally been happy to watch two women compete for his affection out of jealousy, but now he completely panicked. Having a son to continue the family line was already his deepest obsession. Now that Aunt Chen is pregnant, how could he dare let Lady Liu continue to make trouble? Even more incredible is grandmother. The moment she heard Aunt Chen was carrying the Yang family's flesh and blood, her attitude did a complete turnaround. Lady Liu, her childhood sweetheart, was immediately tossed to the back of her mind. Now her heart and eyes are full of her yet unborn golden grandson. And she dotes on Aunt Chen even more attentively. This seemingly peaceful period ultimately didn't last long. Lady Liu is not someone who would admit defeat easily. That night she calculated father's usual route and stood alone beneath the pear tree. Her frail figure appeared especially pitiable under the soft moonlight as she wept quietly over the fallen petals on the ground. The moonlight, the fallen flowers, the childhood sweetheart from his memories, all these perfectly arranged elements indeed stirred up that bit of old affection buried in my father's heart. Add to that Aunt Chen being pregnant, he'd been feeling rather lonely these days. So seeing Lady Liu like this, his heart couldn't help but soften. Just as he was about to step forward to comfort her, he saw a burly man suddenly emerge from behind the moon gate, heading straight for Lady Liu. Xunyang. The man's voice was urgent. If you're truly suffering like this, then let me take you away. My father's footsteps came to an abrupt halt. When Nanny Shi reported the news to mother, she deliberately avoided me. I pretended to obediently leave, then crouched down and hid under the corridor eaves, holding my breath and listening to the conversation inside. Granny Shi reported back with a smile. The mistress truly has divine foresight. That Liu woman indeed has a taste for such things. Mother took a light sip of tea, her voice carrying a knowing tone. Her former husband was originally a broad-shouldered, thick-waisted military man. Someone accustomed to that kind of life, how could she endure such coldness now? Granny Shi sighed. It is just a pity that the two haven't yet done anything outrageous. Though the master was angered. On the surface, Miss Liu is merely a cousin staying as a guest, so he couldn't investigate too deeply. When Miss Liu tearfully begged for forgiveness, he merely scolded her a few times and let it go. Fei, what about the old madam's side? Mother set down her teacup. She must have heard Miss Liu's declaration that she would never become a concubine. Fei more than just heard it. Granny Shi lowered her voice. Our people whisper in her ear daily. The old madam is so furious she curses constantly, saying that Miss Liu Bang remarried. Should already feel honoured to be the master's concubine. Now, without any title at all, she dares to disturb the household's peace. These days she summons Miss Liu to her presence daily to learn proper conduct. As Granny Shi spoke, the creases on her face deepened with her smile. Before dawn breaks, she has Miss Liu stand before her to attend to her hair grooming, holding the copper basin level with her eyebrows. If a single drop spills, she says her sincerity is lacking. Mother fingered the tea lid, gently stirring the floating leaves. Just this alone doesn't quite sound like the old madam's style. Sfei, of course there is more. Granny Shi leaned in closer, lowering her voice. During meals, she orders Madame Liu to stand behind her and serve the dishes. She specifically picks scalding hot soups for her to ladle. And if she is even half a beat slow, she puts down her chopsticks and says, "I'm getting old, can't even get a hot meal anymore." By the end of one meal, Madame Liu's hands are bright red. Faye, she paused, a hint of satisfaction in her tone. "What is most tormenting is at night. The old lady says her knees hurt so much she can't sleep. And has Madame Liu kneed her legs by the bedside. If the pressure's too light, she says she can't feel anything. If it is too heavy, she says it is hurting her. She keeps this up until the third watch before letting her go." Faye, after just 3 to 5 days of this, Granny Shi said with a smile. "Madame Liu has dark circles under her eyes and can barely walk straight. She went to cry to the master, and at first he felt sorry for her, but when he saw her complaining over and over about the same few things, my feet hurt from standing. I didn't sleep well, and then looked at concubine Chen's calm and gentle manner during her pregnancy. He found Madame Liu increasingly melodramatic and tiresome." Faye, I pressed my hand tightly over my mouth, even holding my breath. "During the days we've been away from the estate, Madame Liu's situation has taken a sharp turn for the worse. Not only has she failed to form an alliance with grandmother, but she is being ground down day after day by 2 dull blades. Grandmother's deliberate difficulties and father's deliberate coldness. Mother's strategy is actually this subtle and imperceptible." Mother's fingers lightly tapped the table, her brow slightly furrowed. Could it be that I overestimated her? This Lady Liu, is she just a good-for-nothing who only knows how to cry and whine? Granny Shi hurriedly said, "This old servant sees it that way too. The master has given word these past 2 days that she is no longer allowed to attend to him personally." Faye, that won't do. Mother suddenly smiled, though her eyes held no warmth. "The stage is already set. How can we put on the show without this leading lady? We must help her out." Faye, she picked up her teacup, then suddenly asked, "By the way, that family, they should be arriving soon, shouldn't they?" Granny Shi's face immediately showed contempt. That family, the moment they heard they could come to the capital, they were like starving wolves seeing meat. A journey originally planned for a month. They forcibly shortened it by half. They'll probably arrive in the next day or 2. Mother leisurely stood up, smoothing her sleeves. "In that case, let's get ready. Tomorrow morning at first light, we return to the residence." 3 days after returning to the residence, Mother coincidentally encountered Lady Liu relaxing in the garden. "Sister, why do you look so haggard?" Mother's tone was full of concern. "Is it that the servants aren't attending to you properly?" Lady Liu turned her face away, her voice stiff. "No need to trouble yourself with concern, sister-in-law." But Mother wasn't bothered, saying softly, "Sister men, they cherish the old, yet they also crave the new. You and your husband share old affections, while concubine Chen is the novelty. But now that she is with child and can't attend to your husband, this is precisely your opportunity, isn't it?" Lady Liu was startled and looked at her mother in confusion. "My husband has been busy with government affairs lately, often until late at night. He loves that tea from my little kitchen the most." Mother looked at her meaningfully. "If sister truly has the heart tonight at the hour of high, you can personally deliver it to his study. Remember, dress plainly and simply, don't wear heavy makeup." Lady Liu was half believing and half doubting, but having no other options, she still followed the instructions. That night, dressed in a moon-white gown, without makeup, carrying a food box just like the pure childhood sweetheart from years ago, she appeared outside my father's study. When my father opened the door and saw her, he was first stunned, then caught the familiar tea fragrance, and noticed the tearful mole beneath her eye, looking pitiful and vulnerable. His heart softened, and he finally stepped aside to let her in. I was still young after all, unable to keep things bottled up inside. Upon hearing the news of Lady Liu regaining favour, even though I knew it was Mother's arrangement, my chest still felt like it was stuffed with cotton. During dinner, I stared at the rice in my bowl, looking extremely pale. "Did Yuan get upset at school today?" Mother asked gently. I shook my head. "Then what is wrong?" She put down her silver chopsticks, her gaze falling on my face. I clutched at my clothes, stammering, "No, nothing. It is just hot, and I have no appetite." "You haven't even touched a bite of your favorite ice cheese." Mother sighed softly, her tone leaving no room for evasion. "Tell Mother the truth. Did you hear some gossip? If you won't say, I'll have no choice but to ask your personal maid." I panicked instantly and could only lower my head, mumbling quietly, "Mother, that Lady Lu has clearly already fallen from favor, so why are you still helping her regain Father's affection?" Mother's eyes flickered slightly. "How do you know it was Mother who helped her? That day at West Garden Temple?" My voice grew even lower. "I heard you talking with Nanishi." She fell silent for a moment, then finally smiled with understanding. "So that is how it is. Mother didn't want you exposed to these things so early, but since you heard it, let me explain it to you." She scooped a spoonful of ice cheese for me, her voice gentle yet solemn. "The inner household is like a chess game. Make one move. You must think 10 moves ahead. Helping her today is not out of kindness, but to use her as a chess piece, place her in an even more perilous position to complete the final game." I nodded with a vague understanding. She reached out to smooth my temple hair, her eyes full of warmth. "Don't worry. Before you come of age, Mother will slowly teach you these principles. For now, you just need to be a carefree little girl. The storms of this inner household Mother will shield you from them." Meng Rui never said a single vicious word from start to finish, never did anything that couldn't be presented openly. Every step was, for my husband's sake, for my sister's sake, for my mother-in-law's sake. She turned herself into a mirror. All the ugliness was reflected by others themselves, and what she said to Yuanyuan, "In this inner chamber's storms, Mother will shield you," instantly broke through my defenses. She navigated through the clashing blades and swords, yet remained forever that gentle umbrella-holding person in front of her daughter. Second uncle's family arrived in the capital. As soon as they settled in, they revealed their greedy nature, wanting everything to match the main household standards. Mother agreed to everything, but her face grew increasingly distressed. That day she happened to encounter second aunt in the corridor. "Don't blame me, sister-in-law," Mother sighed softly. "Now that the household has more people, and with Sister Mengshu's side, the expenses are also large. If the provisions prepared for you are insufficient in any way, I hope you'll be understanding." Second aunt immediately raised her eyebrows. "What do you mean by this? Sister-in-law, we came all this way, and now we have to read the face of an outsider." Mother hesitated to speak, and finally seemed to murmur helplessly. "Sister Mengshu is a guest after all, and my husband shows her much affection. Her current clothing, food, and expenses are all modeled after Yuanyuan's. Some allowances that should have been Yuanyuan's, or even my niece and nephews know, have to prioritize her first." These words were like a spark, instantly igniting the resentment in second aunt's heart. A widow who came to live with relatives. How dare she compete for her children's resources? The conflict erupted instantly. From then on, second aunt constantly looked for faults with Lady Lu, making insinuations and causing chaos everywhere. Lady Lu couldn't bear the harassment and cried to my father multiple times about second uncle's family's vulgarity and greed. My father had supported second uncle's family for so many years. How could he not know what kind of people they were? It is just that before, he was always bound by grandmother's theory of sacrificing second uncle to fulfill eldest brother, carrying guilt in his heart, and wouldn't listen to a single word of mother's advice. But now even Lady Lu was repeatedly complaining in his ear about second uncle's family's wretchedness. Those accumulated grievances, hearing them once was tolerable. Hearing them too many times, that little bit of familial affection left in his heart was on the verge of collapse. Mother saw the time was ripe and began the next step. She secretly encouraged second uncle to squander money outside, and under the pretext of expanding connections, lulled him to meet some friends with wide networks. In less than half a month, second uncle became addicted to wine and women, with enormous expenses. At this time, someone arranged by mother accidentally revealed that my father's reputation could perhaps help some merchants obtain a minor position to make money. Second uncle, blinded by greed, soon started using his Dingguan elder brother's name to engage in corrupt dealings outside. The news soon reached the desk of a certain lord at the censorate through Mother's channels. Quietly, meanwhile, Mother hadn't been idle at the manor either. That day, she arranged for second aunt to go to a temple with efficacious incense offerings to pray for second uncle's wealth. On the way back to the manor, second aunt just so happened to witness with her own eyes Liu Shi and a burly man pulling and tugging at each other by the side gate, their manner intimate, talking and laughing merrily. Second aunt, as if she'd found treasure, immediately entered and in front of father and grandmother, embellished and exaggerated the matter as she shouted it out. Elder brother, do you know what kind of goods that Liu Shi is? In broad daylight she is entangled with men from outside. She is making our Yang family lose all face. Father's face turned iron blue, all his previous suspicions about Liu Shi instantly flooding into his mind. He rushed to the west wing to interrogate her, though Liu Shi cried like a pear blossom in the rain and denied everything as father stared at her tear-stained face. His mind uncontrollably conjured up the silhouette of that strange man under the moonlight, gradually overlapping with the figure second aunt described. Seeing the situation turning bad, Liu Shi switched to shrilly accusing second aunt of deliberate slander, then dug up second uncle's family's extravagant spending to make a huge fuss. Father was caught in the middle. On the left was second aunt's foul-mouthed cursing. On the right was Liu Shi's tearful counterattack. He only felt a buzzing in his ears and veins throbbing at his temples. Enough. He swept his sleeve sharply, barking harshly to cut short this farce. Then turned and left without looking back, leaving only the two women standing there, still glaring at each other with unwillingness. That evening my father leaned against the couch flipping through my schoolwork, his tone finally softening a bit. Yuanyuan's essays show quite a bit of spirit in this. She takes after me. Mother sat to the side, smiling gently. Yes, if she heard you praising her like this, who knows how happy she'd be. These past few days I've neglected you, mother and daughter. Husband, please don't say that. Mother lowered her eyes, her tone apologetic. It is this concubine who hasn't managed the household affairs properly, causing you worry. Father shook his head and sighed. What does it have to do with you? It is certain people who've never let anyone have peace. Mother took the opportunity to say softly, by the way, husband, sister Mengshu living here without proper status all this time doesn't look right either. Aunt's second uncle and the others go back. Why not formally take her in as a concubine? The expenses would ease up a bit then too. And we could hold a proper grand ceremony. We can't treat her shabbily. The disdain in my father's eyes was plain to see. There is no rush for that matter. Mother immediately offered false reassurance. Husband, I know you heard some gossip today, but none of it is true. I had people look into it. The stables have been under repair lately, and that man was just a labourer working at the estate. He simply happened to know Mengshu from before, so they exchanged a few pleasantries. There was absolutely nothing improper between them. Father emotionally pulled Mother into his embrace, but failed to see the flash of coldness in her eyes. Ruyi, why are you always so magnanimous and understanding? He sighed. Only with you can I find a moment's peace. He had intended to stay, but Mother gently pushed him away, her tone considerate. Husband, go check on concubine Chen. Her pregnancy has been unstable these past few days. She really needs your comfort. My dad's peaceful days hadn't even lasted 2 days when second uncle's abuse of power came to light. The victim went straight to the governor of the capital, the petition directly accusing my dad of indulging his relatives and using his authority for profit. When my dad found out, he was shocked and furious. Only then, realizing the severity of the problem, to preserve his official reputation, he had no choice but to immediately distance himself from second uncle, spending more than half his savings on bribes to barely suppress the matter. After this incident, the brothers completely turned against each other. My dad was physically and mentally exhausted and, under Mother's persuasion, finally agreed to divide the family assets. Although grandmother felt sorry for second uncle, she valued my dad's official position more, and after some crying and fussing, could only move out with second uncle's family. Looking at the suddenly emptied mansion, my dad seemed to have aged 10 years overnight. Mother gently consoled him. It doesn't matter. Having our whole family together is better than anything else. There are still many days ahead. Aunt Sister Mungshu comes through the door and gives you a big fat son. This household will liven up. My father was soothed by these soft and gentle words. His tightly knitted brows gradually relaxed, as if he could already see the happy scene of children and grandchildren gathered around him. But the setbacks in his official career were ultimately hard to make up for. These days he kept running into walls at the government office, coming home every day with an air of dejection. Right now, the only thing that could lift his spirits was the concubine taking ceremony with the Liu family 5 days away. However, unexpected turns always come faster than anticipated. 2 days before the concubine taking ceremony, my father was rummaging through boxes and cabinets in his study, his face deathly pale. When Mother rushed over after hearing the news, she only saw him slumped in the armchair, his whole body trembling. "It is over." His voice was hoarse. "Ruyi mi official seal. It is gone." His eyes were vacant as he suddenly grabbed Mother's hand. It must be second brother. He must be dissatisfied with the family division and stole my official seal to vent his anger. Mother quickly made a round of inspection in the study, her expression growing increasingly grave. "Husband, you absolutely must not lose your composure at this moment." Her voice was steady. "Second brother has been away from the estate for many days, and he took most of the money when the family was divided. If he really dragged you into this mess, what kind of good days could he have in the future? In my view, this matter absolutely was not second brother's doing." My father looked at her like grasping at a lifeline. My wife makes sense. Then could it be that there is a traitor within the estate? Mother gently shook her head. What use would an official seal be to a servant? Besides, this is a crime that could cost them their head. She guided him with a soft voice. "Husband, think carefully again. Might you have been busy with official duties some days ago and casually put it somewhere else?" My father had already been mentally distracted lately due to setbacks in his official career. And now he was even more bewildered. I really can't remember clearly. But what if it really was stolen? Losing an official seal, the consequences would be unthinkable. Mother's gaze sharpened, and she made an immediate decision. "Then seal the estate at once. No one is permitted to enter or leave. We'll search courtyard by courtyard." When searching the stables, my father suddenly heard strange noises coming from inside. He dismissed those around him and quietly walked in alone. Behind the haystack, Lady Liu was nestled together with that burly man, whispering intimately, their posture extremely affectionate. The man's hand rested on Lady Liu's waist, and not only did Lady Liu not avoid it, she leaned against his shoulder with a completely satisfied expression. My father stood frozen in place, his ears buzzing. In that moment, all the excuses her mother had made for her, all the claims of just exchanging a few pleasantries shattered completely. He remembered that anonymous note, the strange man under the moonlight, second aunt's accusation, every single piece matched up. "Yang Linzhou," Lady Liu screamed when she spotted him hastily pushing the man away. "Let me explain. It is not what you think." My father trembled uncontrollably all over, demanding answers in a stern voice. The burly man, seeing things had gone south, seized the chaos to flee. My father tried to block him, but was knocked staggering backward by the man's build, stumbling against the doorframe in pain that made his vision go dark. He slumped to the ground, chest heaving violently, both hands clenched into tight fists. Seeing the man had fled, Lady Liu instead steeled herself and sneered coldly. "Yang Linzhou, what right do you have to control me? You're no better yourself." Her voice was shrill. "Back then, you took the Meng family's silver, beat your chest swearing you'd marry no one but her, then turned around and wrote me a letter, saying once Lady Meng was gone, the position of proper wife would be mine." My father was stabbed to the core by these words, trembling all over. Fury and shame intertwined. He wanted to rush forward, but his legs gave out. He simply couldn't stand up. Liu Shi desperately retreated, shrieking hysterically. "You dare lay a finger on me and see what happens. I have a letter written in your own hand. If you dare touch me, I'll hand the letter to the Jingzhou Yin, to the Imperial Censorate. Let the whole world see what kind of thing you Yang Linzhou really are." My father's body suddenly stiffened. He stared fixedly at Lu Shi, his Adam's apple bobbing up and down, and finally slumped back against the wall in defeat. The two confronted each other in the stable, with only heavy breathing around them and the faint sound of searching footsteps in the distance. In the end, my father left without a word, supporting himself against the wall and staggering away. His retreating figure was utterly defeated, like a withered tree whose roots had been torn out. Lu Shi collapsed onto the hay pile, her face deathly pale, trembling uncontrollably all over. She finally realized in this household she had no way out left. 3 days later at dawn, Lu Shi left behind a letter and quietly departed from the household. The letter contained only a few sparse sentences, roughly saying she couldn't bear the household disputes, requested to leave of her own accord, and from now on they would have nothing to do with each other. My father held the letter paper, staring at it expressionlessly for a long while, and finally walked into his study without a word and closed the door. That deadly official seal was ultimately found behind a Buddha statue on my father's bookshelf. Mother personally placed the official seal on his desk, her tone gentle. I suppose you were unsettled these past days, my husband, and carelessly left it here and forgot, now that it is found. All is well, no need to worry any more. My father stared at that official seal, silent for a long while, and in the end only said one thing. Ru Yi, I was confused. Disappointment in his official career, betrayal by his own brother, shattered old romance, every single matter weighed on his heart, crushing his last thread of sanity. Mother sat by his bedside holding a medicine bowl, her tone as gentle as coaxing a child. My husband has suffered too many grievances. With your health as it is now, you should take extra care to recuperate. She gently pushed a letter of authorization with ink still wet before his eyes, took his trembling hand, and dipped it in the ink pad. Just press your fingerprint. Her voice was extremely soft, carrying a power that calmed the heart. This is the authorization for the household accounts. From now on, I shall manage everything on your behalf, and you need not trouble yourself any more, my husband. My father's gaze was vacant. Like a puppet on strings, he allowed Mother to hold his fingers and press a bright red fingerprint onto the authorization. This is good, he murmured to himself. With my body as it is, how could I withstand such toil any more? Rest and recover without worry, my husband. Mother carefully put away the document and tucked in the corners of his blanket. I shall take care of matters outside. She turned and closed the door, softly instructing Nanny Shi, who was in the corridor. Go to the yamen to request leave, say that the master is gravely ill and needs quiet rest. From that day on, my mother became the only person in the Yang household who could speak on behalf of the sick master. She began frequently attending banquets at various households, her words always carrying just the right amount of worry and resilience. Everyone praised her for staying calm in crisis and never abandoning her bedridden husband. Not long after, a stray dog somehow got into my father's courtyard. My father's calf was bitten. From that day on, several calming herbs were added to his medicine. The light in his eyes grew increasingly murky, and he became irritable and quick to anger, sometimes smashing things, screaming, and even having unprovoked seizures. The servants whispered among themselves, the master, I'm afraid he has got hysteria. Mother, with reddened eyes, publicly ordered his courtyard to be sealed off, leaving only one old servant to attend to his daily needs. To outsiders, she said the master was gravely ill and needed quiet rest, and should not receive visitors. That day I still couldn't bear it, tugging at Mother's sleeve. Mother, what is really wrong with father? Can I really not go see him? She gently stroked my hair, but her tone left no room for argument. Yuan. Be good. Your father is sick. So sick that he can't recognize people clearly. Seeing me still staring at her in a daze, Mother's expression softened slightly as she said gently, Yuan, do you believe that Mother loves you more than anyone else in this world? I nodded vigorously without hesitation. Of course I do. Mother loves me the most. Then as long as Mother loves you, that is enough, isn't it? I froze for a moment, then shook my head to cast aside that last bit of doubt, breaking into a smile. Of course it is enough. Yuan loves mother the most, too. Later, even His Majesty heard about how Lady Yang had tended to her critically ill husband without rest, not even removing her clothes. An imperial reward was bestowed, and mother knelt to receive the Turfone decree, becoming a virtuous wife praised throughout the capital. But before long, father still sniffed out that something was wrong. He scraped together the few valuable items he had on him and stuffed them into that old servant's trembling hands. A secret letter addressed to the capital magistrate slipped out of the estate gates just like that, without a sound. As dusk deepened, footsteps finally echoed from the corridor. Father struggled to crawl to the door, gazing out eagerly, but he saw only mother approaching alone with a lantern, followed by two burly servants who had signed death contracts. "What is my husband waiting for?" Her voice was as soft as a feather, yet it sent a chill through his entire body. Waiting for people from the capital magistrate's office. Father suddenly staggered backward, his spine slamming hard against the wall. Mother unhurriedly withdrew the secret letter from her sleeve and set it aflame with the candle. "Stop waiting. No one is coming. You've actually locked down the entire estate so tightly." His voice was so hoarse it nearly shattered. "What else did you expect?" Mother stared directly at his suddenly constricting pupils. "Don't tell me you thought there were still people loyal to you in this estate?" My father was struck as if by lightning, barely maintaining his last shred of dignity. "Ruyi just wanted to go out for some fresh air." "Go out." She smiled faintly. "Go out to confess your crimes, or go out to let people laugh at our Yang family. Husband, the Yang family is at the height of its glory right now. If you go out, are you trying to destroy this household?" He hastily defended himself. No, I'm just feeling stifled, wanted to move around a bit." Mother smiled gracefully, yet her eyes were frozen with ice. "Husband, stop thinking about it. For the rest of your life, you won't be walking out that door." "What did you say?" His voice trembled. You really want to harm me?" Mother's eyes turned completely cold. "If I don't strike first, you'll take my life, won't you?" I don't know what you're talking about." He retreated in panic until his back pressed against the cold wall with nowhere left to go. Mother let out a scornful laugh, her eyes filled with mockery. "Things have come to this point, and you still want to play dumb. Faye, when you were in Guang County, as a county magistrate, your monthly salary was only 5 taels at that time. Yuan had just been born, and we were scraping by with food, clothing, and expenses. Suddenly, you proposed to support your mother on your own, just because your second brother got drunk and threw a fit, saying your mother didn't finance his imperial examinations, so he wouldn't support her in old age. I refused. But you appeared obedient on the surface while secretly telling your mother." She enunciated each word. "The Meng family has no male heir. Once her parents are gone, the family fortune will be ours sooner or later." Faye, she stepped forward, the candlelight condensing into ice in her eyes. "Even your harsh mother advised you not to repay kindness with enmity, yet you had long been scheming to seize the Meng family's fortune. From that moment on, I understood that between you and me, there was no turning back." My father trembled all over, his voice shaking. "All these years, you've been putting on an act. I'm not ashamed to admit I once loved you." She pressed forward step by step. "But once I saw through your vicious heart, I severed ties with you from the bottom of my heart. These years, all personnel matters in the household went through my hands, and everyone above and below obeyed only my orders. Did you think I would just sit and wait for death? Concubine Chen was arranged by me from the start. I indulged Lady Liu, your mother, and your second uncle were also specially invited by me. I hid the official seal. I let that dog in, and I altered the prescription too." Her speech quickened, each word piercing his heart. "Why do you think Lady Liu could so easily meet with men in secret? Do you think I unintentionally told you that man came to repair the stables?" She abruptly pulled out the letter he had written to Lady Liu back then and slammed it down heavily in front of him. "Once the Meng family is gone, the position of legal wife will surely be yours, Yang Linzhou, from the moment you put brush to paper. Today's outcome was already sealed. My father's pupils contracted sharply as a miserable roar erupted from his throat. Like a cornered beast, he struggled, trying to lunge forward. Two strong servants stepped forward simultaneously and firmly held him down. My father struggled desperately, his entire body trembling uncontrollably. "Oh, right, there is one more thing I forgot to mention." Mother looked at the wretched figure before her, her tone as calm as if discussing what to eat tomorrow morning. "Concubine Chen is indeed pregnant, but what a pity it is the posthumous child of her deceased husband." Upon hearing this, my father seemed to have his last bit of strength drained away. His whole body went limp, collapsing into a heap, unable to move anymore. "Gone mad." She spoke indifferently, as if stating a fact that had nothing to do with her. "This works out well too, saves me the trouble." She clapped her hands lightly, and two burly servants responded by helping him into the inner room and settling him properly. "Since my husband has lost his mind." She watched as he was carefully settled in, then let him stay here and recuperate quietly. As she turned to leave, her steps paused slightly, and she softly instructed the servants, "Take careful care of him. Don't let anything go wrong." I read that sentence over and over. "I am not ashamed to admit I once loved you." These 8 words were the only time in the entire piece that Meng Rui revealed genuine emotion. Not the mask of a virtuous and magnanimous woman. Not a chess player with thorough calculations, but a woman who had once truly loved her husband, who, after discovering he planned to take her life, spent over a decade crushing that love bit by bit, drying it out, sealing it away, until it finally became the sharpest weapon in her hands tonight. Did she win? Yes, but the price of this victory was using her entire youth to perform a one-woman show as a devoted wife. Every one of her smiles, every gentle word, every concession, none were because she wanted to, but because she had no choice. I saw that woman who schemed alone in the deep night, who wept alone under the lamp, who remained clear-headed alone in her husband's embrace. She wasn't born a strategist, she was forced to become a blade. 3 years passed, and the Pearly Whites brand Mother founded had long since become renowned, with branches spread across the land. Over these years, she kept her promise and taught me all the survival tactics of the inner quarters without reservation, yet always gently stroked my hair at the end. You must understand these skills, but don't let yourself be trapped within the confines of the inner quarters. The world is vast, you need to go out there. The night before my coming-of-age ceremony, he walked alone into that sealed courtyard. No one stopped me. I pushed open the half-closed door, and immediately a hoarse shout came from the bed. The man who used to be my father was desperately struggling, making muffled sounds. When he saw me, his murky eyes suddenly lit up, his bony hand desperately reaching toward me. "Yuan, my good daughter, please save your father." I stood still as moonlight streamed through the window lattice, illuminating his haggard face. "Your mother, she is gone mad." His voice trembled. "She locked me in here. Let your father out." I slowly walked to the bedside, and under his expectant gaze, he took out a brand new bronze lock from my sleeve. Click! The sound of the lock bolt sliding into the door latch was especially jarring in the silent room. He froze in place, looking at me in disbelief. I turned and left, never looking back. Mother was already waiting in the courtyard, appearing at some unknown time. She asked nothing, only gently placed her hand on my shoulder. "There is important business tomorrow. Yuan should rest early." I lifted my face and gave her a sweet smile. "All right, Mother. The story ends here." Have you guys noticed a detail throughout the entire story? Meng Rui never once reached out her hand to ask anyone for money. During the intervals of praying for blessings at Saionji Temple, she quietly inspected her own businesses. She developed tooth powder, opened branches, and step by step built Bei Qijing into a brand spread across the entire nation. Her husband knew nothing about this, and she never used the money she earned to subsidize that bottomless pit of a household. This was where her true confidence lay. The character Yang Linzhou is actually written very realistically, so realistic it is chilling. He is not the kind of bad guy you can see through at a glance. He is talented in writing, well read, understands social etiquette, appears attentive and caring toward his wife and daughter on the surface, and even has a good reputation as a devoted lover on the outside. He even truly displayed love toward Meng Rui for a very long time. It is just that this love was built on the premise that the Meng family is useful to me. There are too many people like this in real life. They won't bare their fangs on the first day. They'll first give you tenderness, give you promises, give you the illusion of being the best husband in the world. Then once you've given them your complete trust, once your usefulness has been squeezed dry, they'll slowly reveal their true face. So don't just look at how someone treats you when things are going well, look at how they choose when faced with interests. Don't just listen to what they say, look at what they do where you can't see. Yang Linzhou says, with his mouth Rui's health is most important. Having Yuan alone is perfection. But behind the scenes writes a letter to his childhood sweetheart saying after the Meng family is gone, the position of legitimate wife will surely be yours. A person's true heart is always hidden in the corners where they think no one is watching. Finally, and most importantly, kindness needs an edge. But the edge doesn't have to become your everything. Kindness is a precious quality, but kindness must have boundaries. When someone tries to cross your bottom line and hurt you and those you love, you need to have the ability and determination to protect yourself. It is not about becoming a cold and heartless person, but about making yourself strong enough that others won't dare to easily hurt you. Be a gentle person, but don't be a weak person. Be a kind person, but don't be a person who lets others push them around. Be a person who loves others, but first be a person who loves yourself. Just like what Meng Rui said to Yuan, in the end the world is vast and wide. You need to go out and explore it. This world is big and it is worth going out and making your way through it.